Welcome back, everybody. Take two. We're jumping into some Runestrike. It's been a little bit since we were in the world of Runestrike, and there have been some big changes, some big additions. So we're going to tackle them tonight and take a peek. Taking a peek at Runestrike, there was a big balance pass included in the new update. The new update is Ragnarok. So we see Loki doing Loki things, and we have some new cards to discuss. We're going to start off, we'll take a look at the cards, we'll take a look at the balance pass, and then we'll jump into a little bit of the campaign, and we'll see how the night progresses. So, first things first, let's take a look at the cards that you unlock through the campaign. Now, first one's Eternal Flame. It's a 6 cost that look at 3 minions in your void. Draw 1 and reduce its mana cost to 1 until the end of this turn. Banish the other 2 minions. I actually really like this. I think there's a lot of potential for this. I assume that it's not going to require 3 minions. So if you have 1 or 2, you can still do it. It is an epic, so you can use this effect multiple times. And for a deck that, if you are not expecting that you're going to reanimate your minions, this is a great way to pull stuff back, especially if it's utility stuff, because you get to tutor to a degree. It's it's not even really an impulse because it's not 4, but you get to look at the 3 and choose whatever is best for the scenario. So it is pretty cool. It's a little costly. This would be pretty cool to reanimate. I guess it's reanimation, but yeah, to reanimate your powerful legendaries if your opponent was able to off it. So in Chaos decks, now you can run something out there and use it quote-unquote frivolously, Eternal Flame it back, because now you effectively have 2 copies of it. I was going to say 3, but it's not really 3 because that card came out of the void, so then it'll get banished when it dies the second time. But you get extra uses out of these things. We have another way to play multiple mirrors? Exactly. I really like this. I think this has a lot of potential. I expect a whole lot of memes to show up out of this. I think it'll be pretty cool. I didn't notice this before. This is actually a really sweet card back. Just throwing that out there before we continue the cards. Like this is pretty sweet. I love this. Like, this looks awesome. But that's through Fearless. You get a pack for completing hard. Okay. Turn the volume down a little bit. All right, next card up is Spur to Action. Target friendly minion gains speed for 1 turn. I don't like this, but I'm going to be so annoyed when I lose to it. Getting 2 attacks out of something is useful. And if you're playing Infuse, then arguably this is another Infuse, but the problem is you need to be you have to have a base 5 to beat the Infuse, right? Unless you need to punch through something and hit face. Like, speed has this extra layer, this extra level of versatility because it can hit twice. It can trigger multiple effects, like on-attack effects. It can punch through a blocker. If something specifically says hitting face, you hit face twice. Or if it's, Raptor has speed, but again, on-attack effects. I could see this getting used. It just feels bad that you're investing an entire card in 3 mana, which is not insignificant, into this. So it feels like I want this card to be bad, but I could see it getting used. I'm going to be super annoyed. When you use this with Infuse, but now you're giving things speed that will never be bad. I guess. It's just a combat trick, so it kind of bores me personally. And would you use this with Infuse? Getting back to that question, it feels weird because then you are investing so many one-time effects. So it's like, yes, you get, it'll be 8 extra damage with 2 cards. It's like, okay. I don't think I'd spend 2 cards and 5 mana to deal 8 damage to my opponent's face after investing in a minion. This feels like it's supposed to be a combat trick that will just randomly end the game. Now, again, you can play it on a ton of stuff. I'm warming up to this. I just don't like it because it's this you know, it's just a random combat trick. Golem with speed? Which golem? I assume you mean Void Golem? So you'd have to be what? Sakara? Or Magus? I could see it. I don't know. I think I am just... I'm not a huge fan of combat tricks, but I think this one's going to be good enough. Like, speed is a pretty powerful ability. Speed is pretty powerful. I'm just kind of frustrated and dejected that this card will be good or even decent. Like, I think this is playable, I guess. Could it be better than that? Possibly. It just, part of me is thinking I'm playing some sort of order-based aggro, right? And my opening hand is like spur to action, infuse, call to arms, and then I mulligan, and then it's like the other spur to action, infuse, and then a 3-drop. It's like, well, I guess I lose because I just cede so much tempo, but at the same time, the way the game works is that a lot of early game, like turn 1 and 2, seem to not matter but at the same time, then nobody plays removal. So then the turn 1 and 2, depending on the deck, is okay. It's weird. It's weird. But yeah, spur to action, I kind of expect to see this. After that, we have Mimir. 8 costs, 6/10 legendary mage giant. He is vast. It's a giant. And divine, draw the highest cost rune in your void, then reduce its cost by 2. It's interesting that, I mean, Myth and Shadow both have a lot of void interaction, although we just saw a chaos one as the first card. This seems pretty cool because it's immediately a 6/10 that replaces itself. And depending on what your highest cost card is on turn 8, obviously a 7 or less, well, you could accelerate this out, so that may not be the case. But if we assume a 7 or less, because you hardcast this, like, I think this is pretty solid. And this feels like something that, to me, is more fun than spur to action. This could get very dangerous. It feels weird, like it shouldn't be an engine. You can't divine, or you're not likely to divine a lot and then put together a combo, but I guess it wouldn't be impossible. So if you bank a bunch of blood, say, as Tessa, that wouldn't even make sense. Like, is Tessa, are you just going to A3 instead? I'd rather just A3 rather than bank on this guy. If you use your ability the turn you play Mimir, it's at least a 2-for-1. One of those cards is 6/10. Exactly. That's why I'm trying to figure out, is it worth banking blood if you're waiting for a Mimir and then, like, bring back multiple things? So, you know, you use your A1, A2, and then you draw 2 cards. They're both reduced by 2. You may or may not be able to play them that turn. I could see something, like maybe those Surge decks can leverage this to a degree. I don't remember offhand if there are a lot of engines that, you know, play a bunch of stuff in one turn to reap benefits anymore, but because a lot of them got kneecapped. But I like Mimir. I think this is pretty solid. I could definitely see playing this. The question will be trying to find room, because it doesn't immediately impact the board inherently. You could return, say, removal, and then immediately play it if you reduce the cost enough, but that assumes it's a 2-cost removal. I wonder how the divine trigger works with respect to blood ability. So say I activate Tessa's A3. Do I get the thing back from divine and then reduce it by 3, or is it reduce everything by 1, then pull it back and reduce it by 2? It's another way to get mirror. We all know getting multiple mirrors is important. It is true. If you can do it, it's pretty cool. Next is Shadow Punch. 3 costs, gain attack equal to target friendly minion's attack for 1 turn. Then destroy this minion. We gain the attack, like the, as in the hero, the champion, Gain attack equal to target friendly minion's attack for 1 turn, then destroy this minion. I mean, anything where you can intentionally sacrifice your own stuff has a lot of potential, both as counterplay to the stupid, like, keeper lock decks, as well as just being able to leverage berry abilities and stuff like that. You do get... I'm trying to think. Like, this just seems weird. Who uses this? Because it could be Darlock, Morlich, Keeper, Bro, Zekon. Who am I missing? Dawn. Yeah, I might be missing. I can't think of any of them that care about this. Like, I mean, yes, shadow decks. That would be correct. But, like, why? You could sacrifice a 5/3, blow up their board early in the turn, then play cards after wiping the board. I guess? But most of the time, those decks with the 5/3 are just built to not really be penalized by it anyway. Now you're relying on trying to find this card in order to offset it. I mean, again, it is on demand, so if you need to play that thing and then kill it immediately, or you put it out and you go, okay, my opponent is not interacting with it, I need to still wipe their board for whatever reason, here's a way to do it. I feel like I'm missing something here, but this doesn't seem good. Sacrifice a Void Golem so blockers don't matter. Yeah, the blockers not mattering is really the thing. So, as a quote-unquote finisher for aggro, you know, problem is, if you have something that's aggressive, like a deck that's aggressive, yes, there will be scenarios where they have a blocker, where they've incapacitated it in some way, and you can't get through. And then this allows you to, but is that really a common scenario? It didn't feel like it, but I don't know. This feels weird. It seems bad to me. There are better or other ways to sacrifice things for fun and profit. I'm not a huge fan of Shadow Punch, but I might be missing something. Maybe, I don't know. Next up is Storm Giant, a 9-cost 10/7 warrior giant. Of course, it has Vast. Whenever a friendly minion is damaged, this gains +2. So this is similar to, not Cannibals. What's the other one? Raving Sycophant, I think. But this costs 1 million, and it doesn't have any evasion, and it's not actually that sturdy. Like, on turn 9, dealing 7 doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal. But your opponent must respect it, I guess. It doesn't have evasion, nor does it have blitz. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one. This doesn't feel like it's worth it. It's a big dummy who punches good. Now, admittedly, it's in chaos, so you do have a lot of ways to clear the path. So, hypothetically, you could buff this thing. And it says whenever a friendly minion, so presumably it includes itself. So that means, you know, if you have an AoE ability that's going to deal 1 to the board, this thing suddenly has 12 attack, maybe 14 attack. And then you combust their chump blocker. And then you start swinging for the fences. Like, maybe. Honestly, I feel like I'd rather play, like, any of 6 or 7 different dragons before this. Dies to Bright Song. Yeah, that is a fact. Alright, last one is Hell. So she's a 6-cost 3/8 god, of course legendary. While in play, enemy minions will not resurrect. Thematic. Like, I get it. But at the same time, I don't know that... I don't know. This also seems like such a niche answer. Now, the good thing about this is that it's clunky enough as a cost. Is 8 hard to deal with? Kind of. It comes down 3 turns earlier. What I imagine is going to happen is you as the Resurrect player have a bunch of stuff in play. Your opponent, like you played Resurrect minions in front of your opponent's stuff to block on the assumption that, you'll block, you'll get the res minion, and then you punch back. And then your opponent plays Hell and you get blown out. Which, if that scenario happens, that is absolutely going to be miserable. But if it doesn't happen, the Hell player is going to be absolutely miserable. Because it's like, why am I including this card? It's a sideboard card in a game without sideboards. Yeah, it's... The problem is, I don't even like this sort of sideboard card because it feels like... Maybe this is better than alternatives because it is a more pinpoint release valve, safety valve, that if Resurrect decks were suddenly problematic, oh, well, I can just board in Hell. Except we have a ladder system, we don't have sideboards. It's just, am I running up against it? And she seems somewhat worthless otherwise. A 6-cost 3/8 with a blank text box is terrible. So this is strictly for the anti-Resurrect, and that feels bad. I agree, it's a kind of a sideboard card. Not kind of, it is. And if almost nothing in card games feels as bad as losing to a main decked sideboard card. Because it's just like, why are you playing that? And then you get blown out, and it's just immensely frustrating, because not only were they playing a quote-unquote bad card in their starting deck, on top of it, they had to find it, and the scenario just worked. It's like all the planets aligned, and this is the one game you're going to win that's going to justify to you playing this card in your deck when you really shouldn't, and then you lose. It also has the, and I've been thinking about this a lot recently because of other games, it feels like this just beats down, wrong card. It feels like this beats down memes, which as a streamer, obviously, I mentioned on many occasions before, I hate playing meme decks. I like playing real decks, competitive decks, ones that would be quote-unquote meta. I don't find it fun to play these meme decks that are like once in every 6,000 games, it'll kind of work, but one in every 12,000, it'll definitely almost win a game, and then one in every 30,000, it actually wins a game. Like, I know there are tons of people who enjoy those builds, and I'm not saying don't do that, or that your way of having fun is bad. That's not what I'm saying. Have fun however the hell you want with this stuff. But I don't like that stuff. One of the reasons is that inevitably I'm going to run into a whole night of people playing this stuff. And then I lose to it, and I'm just annoyed that I wasted like 3 hours playing. It's like, I'm playing a bad deck to begin with, right? I don't need people making my life more difficult by running silver bullet answers to my bad deck. That's the frustrating part. I get why, and if Resurrect was a top tier thing, well then I'd probably be playing it and I'd respect this as an answer. But if I'm playing a meme deck and then someone drops Hell against me and I lose because of that, I'm just going to want to Alt F4. Like, that's it. Okay, so we had a bunch of patch notes as well. And we're going to run through the patch notes real quick. I'm going to try and keep chat up while I'm doing this. So the first one up is Ancestral Hero. This actually got a health reduction. It was 6, it's now 5. I can respect this. At 6, it was kind of rough. It was kind of rough. I saw it in a lot of decks, a lot of light decks, and it's pretty strong. It was pretty strong. Is 5 enough? I mean, it brings it in line now so it can be hit by Mana Spear, which people are, bouncing off the walls about. 5 is a much more readily available number across removal, I think. The fact that this is still 5 cost means it dodges, combusts, and annihilates, so it's going to be a little difficult on that front. But either way, I get why this was dropped. The Resurrect on this just makes it super strong, because you're getting value out of it almost guaranteed. So we have a few different Angel changes. First up is Angel of Hope, which is one that people have been screaming about for a while. Angel of Hope got nerfed like enormously on its stats. It used to be a 5/7 for 9. It's now a 2/6 for 8. Now, I looked into the Discord briefly, and people were maybe justifiably saying this card is dead. I have a hard time seeing where it's still valuable because this thing is basically a blank now. The 5 attack and 7 health meant that it would be a significant threat and could tank a fair amount of things. Going down to 6, I don't think makes it that... It's not that much more a significant break point, but it matters. It definitely matters. But the bigger thing is that it is just not pressuring. Like, 2 attack is pitiful. Now, what I saw a lot was Angel of Hope immediately followed up with Divine Intervention, which, given the Resurrect, you can still pull that off. And yes, it's only a difference of 3 attack, ultimately. So if you're a 12 attack versus a 15 attack, because this was where 100% of the Divine Intervention landed, because you can engineer that scenario, then, okay, it's still decent. It comes out earlier. It just feels like the Angel was very strong, but not, on a scale to 1 to 100, with 100 being absolutely bonkers insane, this card's broken, it has to be addressed. I don't think Angel was approaching that. I think it was very frustrating. But this feels like it was very heavy-handed. I would not be surprised if this got buffed again at some stage. I like the idea of this heal plus resurrect. It fits the Angel of Hope idea, but I don't know. This body seems so anemic that it's hard for me to see past this right now. It's hard for me to say that Angel of Hope is, like, I'm still hopeful for Angel of Hope. I kind of have no desire to play this thing, even in decks that were using it before. If you're still doing the Divine Intervention plan, I could see it, but Angel No Hope, yeah, this, I don't know, it just, without help, it's now a card that you're spending 8 mana for to chump block something for 2 or 3 turns, depending, maybe, well, probably 2 or 4 turns, depending on how big the thing is you're blocking. And then heal 8, which doesn't feel like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like I'm getting 8 mana worth of value out of this any longer. Now, in a Sailing deck, maybe I could still see it because you could put either the power down thing or the power up thing and the spray damage, whichever Sandstorm and Firestorm. Maybe. I don't know. This feels heavy-handed, but at the same time, I think something did need to change with it. So I can accept it for now. Like, it's not the end of the world. Next up is Angel of Vitality. This actually got a buff. It's one of the few cards here that got a buff. Well, it sort of got a buff. It increased in cost by 1, and because it used to be a 5 for a 3/4, now it's a 6 for a 4/5. There's some mention in the notes, or I thought there was. Wasn't there something for... Maybe it was on Zephyr Knight? I could have sworn I saw something mentioned about Zephyr Knight, that there was a concern about hand buff. And obviously it's a hand buff thing. I don't know what the concern about hand buff is. Now, the Zephyr Knight one... Well, I guess you could play him in the same deck. Because the Zephyr Knight one that I could have sworn I saw a comment in the Balance Discord about how Zephyr Knight was modified due to Odin. But now that I'm saying that, maybe I'm imagining things. I don't know. But anyway, Angel of Vitality here. Excuse me. Throat getting dry. Angel of Vitality here. Is it better or worse? I think it's a little worse. Maybe a lot worse. The reason being is I think the main thing you care about is the Warcry. And then the Resurrect and Warcry again. Yes, having the better body is relevant, but I think you'd rather have the +2/+2 faster. instead of having the more threatening body. So I feel like this is actually a nerf. I know I started out saying it was a buff. It was mostly because I was looking at the stats and then I realized, oh, hey, the cost increased too. I feel like this is a nerf. It'll probably, I mean, it's going to still be played in decks that want it, because there just aren't that many effects to do this, so I guess it's fine. Oh, because on the spreadsheet it says Angelic Megasoul, but it's just Angelic Soul. I guess Mega is the one it's at. Oh no, it's not this. This must be the one that it turns into. So we can't actually see this in-game. Like, this is the one that you can play, but then there's another one that is not a collectible card that is the combination of this that's up one tier. So it was a 7 for a 5/5 that when it dies, you gain 5 health. Now it's a 7 for a 5/5 that when it dies, you gain 5 health, but it's instead of just being a spirit, it's a spirit angel. Why does that matter? Well, if we go back to the angels, it's primarily for this. Yeah, I agree, Atona. That would be convenient. But this is presumably what this matters for. Now, honestly, a lot of this stuff may be future-proofing. It might be future-proofing as far as, when I say that, cards obviously coming out in the future. It'll either be new expansions, new campaigns, new seasons, that sort of thing. But instead, we have, right now, I mean, I'll be honest, I tried a Fuse deck. It was absolutely not a light-based Fuse deck. I can't even tell you if I've ever even seen it, the Angelic Megasoul. I don't think I've ever seen somebody do it. Now, maybe there'll be something that generates a random angel in the future or something like that. A conjure that gets angels, or I don't know. But right now, I can't even begin to care about this. This means nothing. Next up is Baldur. Baldur was a 6 for 4/4. Now it is a 7/5/6. 7 for 5/6. So another one that got a stat increase, a cost increase. Given that we saw hell when we were talking about the card releases for this campaign, I guess there's a resurrect problem running around. I don't know. But it seems like there might be, because getting some nerfs on this as well. I only saw Baldur occasionally, honestly, up in Striker. Every once in a blue moon. I couldn't ever quite tell. Or most of the time, I could not tell whether it was main decked or it was off of, say, a Celestial Palace or something like that. I get the sense most of them were main decked. And it can be a very powerful ability. Like, Resurrect is more powerful than people probably give it credit for, especially on something that shouldn't have it. 7 is a lot. Like, 7's a lot. I don't know if playing Baldur for a single Resurrect is... It's probably still good. It's probably still good. If this was a linchpin in your game plan, it probably still is. It just kind of sucks that you can't set up the same, well, I play Baldur and this thing on a turn, or maybe the other way around. Or I can't, just can't get Baldur online as quickly as I'd like to protect a thing that came out on 5, for example. I don't know what that thing would be, but I guess I'm fine with this going up. I don't have Baldur. I don't know too many decks that I played that would have included it, assuming I had it. Barbarian's actually our next card, and this is going to be a repeated change. So Frenzy as a keyword has gotten changed, and honestly, I think this was a long time coming. I think this was a really long time coming. So Frenzy now no longer will attack forever. It will attack and then attack once more, and then it's done. And I think that this is probably how the keyword needed to be a long time ago. So absolutely shout out to the team for this one, because it heads off a lot of nonsense. If there is a minion in the future that they really want it to just attack forever, then just give it a new keyword and call it Mega Frenzy or something. Or an entirely different keyword like bloodlust or I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is that you can create the baseline here and then expand upon it when you're ready. So Frenzy across the board nerf, pretty much. There's several other cards like this. I don't think any of them escaped. I mean, we can check real quick because we're going to be talking about them. Yeah, so this. I mean, Frenzy, the official keyword, is when this kills something, do the following. But all of the ones that say this attacks again got this other text. And that, I think that's huge. I think that's really important because otherwise it's just inevitable. This is a huge buff to protectors too. Because if you had a board of protectors, something like Iron Bull, it's like, all right, well, I kill the smallest one and then kill the next one and then kill the next one and then kill the next one and then and like, or we've all played some games where Kraken came down. Remember Sakara giving it blitz and then he would just eat your entire board alive or something like that. Most of the time, people are generally going to be happy with punch thing, punch face. If something has resurrect, now a resurrect minion will go, okay, I'm dead, you're done. And I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. I like this change, and if I think of any other ways to describe why I like it, we'll bring it up when we talk about the other ones. So we have another Megasoul. This one's the Chained Megasoul. I'm pretty sure all of these got changed. So again, it's not this one, it's the level up. So this is a spirit, and it became a spirit soldier. So the light one became an angel. This one is now a soldier. You're going to hear me repeat it because now we have demonic Megasoul. That one became a spirit demon. I'm not going to bother pulling these up. Enchanted Megasoul, it's the myth one. That became a Fae. The Fertile Megasoul, that's the nature one, became an Earthen. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing one. The Infernal Megasoul, I'm just looking for it so I don't have to do it later. That became a warrior. So all of them get an extra tribe based on whatever they are, which I do appreciate because I like that these things can play into other stuff. The problem is these top level ones are not... they're not collectible, so there's no way for you to do it unless you fuse these things, and if you're fusing them, I'm assuming you're playing a fuse deck, and if you're playing a fuse deck, well, first of all, good luck. Second of all, you are probably going to run out of deck space before you can include not only stuff from other tribes, so like, this is the higher version of this is a soldier, so I want to play it in a soldier deck. And then you need soldier buffs too? I don't know. Next up is Gaulish Chief. I haven't thought of any other reasons to explain why Frenzy only attacking once per turn like this is good, but it's good. So Naked Man here, unfortunately, doesn't get to be as frenzied. So this got a health decrease. It was a 3/5, now it is a 3/4. Now I assume... Yep, there it is. I was going to say, I assume the mirror also was true. That the summoned copy is a copy and has 1 less health. I think this is reasonable. While 5 was a decent break point, as far as, you know, you got your Feast or Famines, you have your Mana Spears, etc. I think this was pretty high on the power level side. Now there's a number of other things that can actually contest it. You have to think a little bit more about where you place it. As far as, like, you can't just necessarily block and go, odds are I'm fine. Now many more things will allow it to die. What else do we have to say about it? I guess that's kind of it. Sickle Stalker now tags it. I think that this probably needed a nerf. It probably needed a nerf. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that they went for health instead of attack. I mean, the one is dangerous and the other is lethal. So the lethal means that it's probably killing whatever. I mean, obviously, if you made it to attack, it would be killing less things. And dangerous means, well, you want it to push face, so yes, it would be doing less damage, but that's the whole point. I don't know. I'm happy with this one. I'm pretty happy with this one. I think it needed something, and this is good enough. Harbinger of Decree was a 4/5, and now it's a 4/4. I have literally no idea why this changed. I don't think I've ever seen this card hit play. I mean, I'm exaggerating here. I've probably seen it, but I don't know. This one's a head scratcher to me. I have no idea why this happened. It's a legendary. I get the ability is hypothetically very powerful. I assume there are stats that said that this thing was winning more than it should, and that's why it got a nerf, but I have no idea. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know. Like, was this tearing up the ladder and I didn't notice? Because I can't explain this one at all. The other stuff so far, I can either explain it or, I support it because I understand why, or I dislike it, but I understand that it happened. I don't have the foggiest idea why Harbinger of Decree. Like, literally none. Iron Bull, Kraken, and Mars. These are all Frenzy minions. Whoop. These are all Frenzy minions. So, Mars, Kraken. Got the Kraken here. Got Mars here. Got the Iron Bull here. Same story as before. Go back and watch the stuff on Barbarian. I don't think I need to repeat it all. One that's probably been a long time coming also is Nemean Lion. So this was a 7/7. It's now a 6/6. A lot of this kind of screams to me similar to the Harbinger. Aside from stats, like statistically, they're tracking, oh, well, this card wins 60% of the time versus this one only wins 40% of the time. We need to bring them closer to the mean, so we, nerf one, buff the other, whatever. A lot of this to me screams either they have something in mind in the future, again, future-proofing, okay, we really need this to be able to be taken out by that, or needs to be able to take out this future thing, or whatever, so that's why we're changing it around. Obviously, in this case, we'd be reducing it so it's easier to kill. Obviously, also presenting less of a threat. I don't know that could you make an argument that Nemean Lion needed to be nerfed? Absolutely. Does it really need to be nerfed? I don't know. I don't know, because this feels like such a cornerstone for light decks. Yes, every light deck wants one of these, pretty much. I don't think there's a single light deck that I played that I didn't want Nemean Lion in. And it's worse, but I don't really know why. I can't think of a 7 health thing that, I guess the new giant has 7 health, so now it doesn't die to Nemean Lion. Instead, it'll become a 12 attack and kill the lion the next turn or something. I could see this being they didn't want the lion to be such a clock, as in now it's going to require X number of extra turns to kill your opponent. Possibly. Not sure. I'm fine with this. It's just still somewhat of a head scratcher where, yes, could Nemean Lion have stood to get nerfed? Clearly it could. I don't anticipate anything's going to cut Nemean Lion now, but I'm not sure what this is opening up for the game in this case. I don't know what the advantage of nerfing this is, other than this was a strong card. We don't want it to be as strong anymore, so we're going to nerf it. But there isn't we don't want it to be as strong anymore so that this other thing has a chance to compete with it, and therefore there's a choice in deck building, there's a choice in play pattern, that sort of thing. It just feels like, we don't want this to be as good anymore, which is as valid a reason, I guess, as any other to nerf or buff something. Snake Oil Peddler got nerfed. It used to be a 1 cost, it's now a 2 cost. The most I saw from Snake Oil Peddler was from stupid Wombo combo decks, like the Minotaur one that was running around for a while, Minotaur and Cyclops, which was stupid. I'm sure it shows up in other stuff. I like the nerf to 2. It would have been nice if it could stay at 1 and then maybe change the war cry, but maybe that, so it's +2/+2 and then -1/-1. Or even just +2/+2 and then recover -2/-2. Make it truly a 1-turn buff and then it gets worse. I don't know. Going to 2 here is fine. I'd rather play it safe and just not have stupid Wombo things running around. It feels safer. The game does not feel it's had a number of combo decks, but I don't think the game is trying to be about combo decks or some of these insane Wombos. And the way the game is structured, as we can see in other digital card games as well that are similar, I think that it lends itself to producing wombos and very non-interactive things. So being cautious about it and preventing those, I think, is better. Trying to force things to actually be about minion combat and minion interaction is worthwhile pursuing. Because otherwise, the fact that you just can't interact on your opponent's turn is going to promote the idea that I'm going to be as non-interactive as possible. Card games work like that anyway, and now the baseline rules are reinforcing it. So, point is, I can get behind this nerf. All right, next one up is Spell Slinger. This is probably one that people were very excited about. So this was previously a 4 attack, if I believe. 2/5. Yeah, this was a 4 attack, which was not really difficult to keep churning damage out from this. This was one of the things that allowed a lot of the aggressive decks to continue being aggressive. You play this, and even if it was a 0-cost mana burn, now it's dealing 4, essentially, for freezies. And that's not counting the fact that as a 4/5, especially on turn 4, it's fairly sturdy. Yes, you could 1-for-1 it with Feast or Famine, Mana Spear, etc., but Mana Spear also goes in this deck, which means that you can nuke your opponent's stuff, possibly for free, on the turn you played Spell Slinger, and deal 4 to them, and from there, Dimensional Rift, Mana Spear, Mana Burn, whatever, keep clearing a path, you're punching them, you're hitting face. It was very strong. I can absolutely understand that this is absolutely reasonable. Definitely behind, or getting behind this one. Next up is Zephyr Knight, and this is the one that I thought I saw a reference saying that hand buff, aka Odin, was the main issue for this, which, if true, is somewhat baffling to me. I'm not even sure Odin was any good when it was doubling things. Now it's only +3/+3, which admittedly was better for Zephyr Knight because it had 2 attacks, so now it goes to 5 instead of 4. Now it goes to 4 instead of 4. You get what I'm saying. Point is that this is weird. Now, putting aside the Odin thing for a second, I understand why this would have gone to 1 attack. It's a great control tool. It was a great aggro tool because it has speed. I think it really should have just lost speed, honestly. I think leaving it as this early game sweeper, or make it cost 6, it dodges Combust and Annihilate at 5. It causes a bunch of issues because it comes down early enough that it punishes the more curve-based aggro, ones that want to go turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 sort of thing. Because it comes down quick enough, which you would need to. There has to be something to combat that, but it comes down so quick that it can't quite deal with it. Now, I don't think it's killing any of those things for the most part. A lot of minions have at least 2 health. Now, admittedly, you can play 2 of these or supplement it some other way, but why? It feels like this is not going to have a home any longer outside of the hand buff decks, which, to bring it all the way back around, if those are the reason this got nerfed, now this only goes in hand buff? I don't know. Maybe it'll turn out a different way. But right now, it feels, like I said, it feels like it won't kill anything early game, so therefore control and mid-range don't really want it. Because there's only 2 ways in the game, I think, Odin and the Angel we talked about earlier, to buff things while they're in your hand. Like this. There might be one other thing that I'm forgetting, but if you can't buff it in hand, then you buff it while it's in play for the speed, and I don't know. Seems like they're just bringing down the power level on a lot of cards. They are, but not all of them are coming down equally. Like, this feels, whereas Nemean Lion is worse, yes, it is absolutely worse. I still think you play Nemean Lion. Zephyr Knight is absolutely worse. I don't think you play Zephyr Knight. I don't know what deck wants this now, unless all of a sudden 1, like literally X1 is now a major breakpoint. Yeah, I'm removing it from decks. It's not great anymore, but a few people said it needed to be nerfed. It was too much damage. That's why I'm thinking take away speed. I have no idea why this thing had speed to begin with. Like, I agree with the idea that Zephyr Knight needed to be nerfed. But there are other ways, like I would have, if you're going to keep the speed, its health needs to go down. Because then it needs to be able to die, like, something looks at it funny. Probably like 3 health. So that way you could hit it with Sever the Source or something like that. Or even 2 health, so that way, you know, any of the random burn spells can get it. That sort of thing. Or opposing Zephyr Knights. But I don't see... The whole purpose is that it's an early game sweeper, and now it can't sweep the board, and it's like, okay, well, yes, it has innate speed, but I could just play Cavalry and get most of this. I'll just run Cavalry to 3. Yeah, exactly. You beat me to it. I don't know. Again, the other ones, even the ones that were baffling, that I'm like, I don't understand it, but it's fine. I don't agree with this one at all. I don't like this at all. I think it did need to be nerfed. I think it would be fine to nerf it. But absolutely not in this way. Thinking the same thing, exactly. Paying 2 mana for 1 across the board? Pretty much. Now, there is something to be said that you would be combining 2 cards. You know, you're getting +1 health, and you're combining this hypothetical card that's deal 2 across the board. I mean, you could say it's Plague Swarm, but it's actually worse than Plague Swarm because it's only damage, so it doesn't dodge protected, and it doesn't reduce their attack, but you get the idea. Nobody ran Plague Swarm before. The only reason people are running Plague Swarm now is because the new Imbue. So, like, now you have the flexibility to say, okay, I want it to do more stuff. And it's great. This is just, like, I'm not going to play this. This is 100% getting cut. Which sucks. But, or maybe it doesn't suck. I don't know. Seismic Rage got changed. It has Frenzy attack again. So, there you go. Attack again once. Same thing. What is Bull Rush? It's saying equipment on the spreadsheet, so that means it's a ability, but it's target friendly minion gains frenzy attack again. But what hero is that on? What champion is that on? No, because the Ogma one's the next one. So they're next to each other in the spreadsheet. So Seismic Rage is on the spreadsheet, but then the one above it says Bull Rush. So I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's like a Easter egg or something, but more Frenzy got reduced to 1 attack. There you go. Chosen One. This was 6 costs. It's now 7. I can understand this. Chosen One was pretty strong. I remember when this first was revealed, and I thought it was terrible because I didn't know what the train was. Because we were operating on the assumption, because it wasn't in the, like the reveal stuff, that it was going to be train, like all the other train stuff. But it has a unique set, and therefore it's way better. And it's better enough to justify this, I think. It's a powerful enough ability, and it goes with the comment made earlier by Atona that there's a lot of stuff across the board that just seems to be getting nerfed, and I can't really argue with a lot of it. The last card is one that's going to make Doctor unhappy, and that's Curse of Narcissus. Curse got nerfed from a 3 cost to a 4 cost. And I think it was cheaper than 3 before and got nerfed to 3 cost, if I recall correctly. This card is just intensely frustrating. It was 1 when it first came out? Okay, yeah. I thought it was that. I think people have had time to recognize the power level of this. Yeah, I think it's still good enough to play in Keeper Lock. I'm hoping that it knocks it out of other decks. I don't know that it will. I feel as though a rework on this would have been better so that it can't target both your stuff or my stuff. Yeah, it being a one-of index is probably still true. Because you'll randomly be able to blow somebody out with this. You don't have to run 2 copies. You'll just catch somebody with a curse every couple games, and you'll just end the game on the spot. You'll end the game on the spot. It's obviously worse. Is it worse enough? I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell. I'm not sure any longer what this sort of ability should cost. Because I don't know offhand, does this really make a difference? It clearly does. But how much of a difference, I don't know. I'm not sure. I could have seen leaving this at 3, but I know people hate this card, so I'm fine with nerfing it. I don't think it will make too much of a difference. Decks are, this is still going to get played, is the bottom line. But we'll see. So that's going to do it for the card breakdown, the patch review. We're going to be jumping into a campaign, but for this section, as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.